Molweni, igama nguPush. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's go! I call it creative queer simply because I am those two things. I am queer and I am creative. And this is my platform, I guess, to tell queer stories, to tell feminist stories, to tell black stories. Yeah, man, I'm just excited for this channel, and I'm really just gonna get into this first episode for today, and that is today's episode. We are talking about being queer and coming or living in a small town. So why is this even an episode? I think it's an episode because if you know anything about small towns, you will know that they are synonymous with narrow-mindedness, with conservativeness, and with the sharing of information, but it's the wrong information. Usually another version of the information. So I grew up in a small town in the Eastern Cape called Ikomani, where there were never any examples of queerness, or never any positive examples of queerness. And if there were any examples, they were not shared in a positive light. It was always via the gossip mill, and it was like, were you lesbian? You know? And you were less than, and it was always this gossipy thing, and it was never in a positive light. And you know, I never had the language for it, so I never really understood it, even though I knew that I was queer. And it was only later, maybe when I was in varsity, when I went to Cape Town, you know, I experienced things, I learned, I talked, you know, I kind of opened up to my peers about my sexual identity. And that is when I really came into my queerness. So what I'm going to do today in this episode, I'm going to speak to a friend of mine who's also queer and lives in a small town. She is from Kimberley. Currently I'm working in Kimberley, though she is from Kimberley, but she's studying in Johannesburg. So we're going to speak to her and see what was her experience, because I think as a result is a bit different, even though we come from a small town. And yeah, man, let's see what she has to say. Molweni Betuna, as promised, I said I was going to bring a friend to speak to everyone about being queer and coming or living and growing up in a small town. And here is the friend. Ta-da! It's me. Roll drums. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. So,
okay, what do I say? Okay, man. Okay, so Angiwe, that's my name. My friends call me Siwo. I'm 21. Gosh, I'm old. And I'm at Wits. I'm a Witty, and doing my third year in anthropology and sociology. And I'm queer, man.
Yeah, and it's Prime Month, so the more important for you in the episode and this channel, I guess. So must get straight to the point of the episode. Because I grew up in a conservative town as well, in my mind I thought, because I still like boys, then God still loves me. At least a part of me is still lovable, you know?
Yeah.
So do you think maybe, because I think the difference between you and I is the fact that you are more aware of your sort of queerness at a much younger age. Do you think living in a small town had any effect on that? Because me, I also lived in a small town, but I only really came into my queerness at a much older age than you did.
I mean, it had an effect, like, definitely, because growing up and being queer, knowing you're queer and you're in the small town and no one ever talks about it, something you only ever see on TV, it sort of was easy for me to just keep it to myself, because you know how your environment affects how you behave sometimes.
Yes,
like if it was an open thing and all my friends were cool with it or whatever, or were doing that, I would have probably also, you know, lived it out more openly growing up, but I kept it to myself. Like, I remember getting to high school probably around 16, and then becoming like conscious like of my blackness, of my womanness, of my queerness, and starting to obviously like girls, and it's dating time, but so yeah, like, hey, here's a letter, I like you, let's
do this thing.
What you talking about? I'm not gay, you know. It is always, it is like, oh, she was so woke. She's a feminist. I love her politics. You know, when we fight about racism in high school, it's cool. Sexism also, you know. But
when it comes to gayness,
thing?
It's like,
we're not gay. You know what I'm saying? And
that's true.
And the difficult part is that, like, it's three sort of identities that you live out simultaneously.
Yes,
that are part of you, and you can't neglect one for them.
And I think black people are like that in general, that will speak on politics of racism.
Yeah.
As long as but when it comes to gayness, or queerness, it's just like
no.
And I think for me a huge part of it comes from, and I stand to be corrected, comes from the fact that homophobia really stems from Christianity or irreligious beliefs.
Sure.
And as Abantu who come from slavery, most of black people are Christians, and a big part of these chats about decolonization, Abantu never really want to honestly confront how irreligion has affected the way we think about our blackness and all of those politics.
I'll say it was, you know.
Was there any, after being outed, was there any, how was the healing after that? Was there any, because I'm thinking now, I'm trying to bring it back to, living in a small town.
Sure.
And being queer. Because in Klambi, bigger towns, there's support groups, so you know where to go if this is your problem, you know what I mean? But in small towns, when something like queerness is
just
shunned upon, so utini from there, how do you heal going forward? Do you think maybe if you grew up in a bigger city where I think most of the people all have access to more information and it would be less of a big deal being queer, do you think it would have changed anything?
Like, you're definitely, because obviously a small town keeps your mind like this. Even the people that love you in a small town are closed-minded. So you are, like, you can only really live out your truth to that extent. You understand?
True,
so
true.
The great thing for me, or I think the positive thing, was that in a few months or in a month, I was going to come to Joburg to be at Fitz. So... And also I was doing a lot of like research, reading up on, Audre Lorde, all those people, sort of coming into myself as a black queer woman, and going to Joburg I was hurting in Kimberley, and I got to Joburg. Obviously,
liberation.
You cool.
You're the cool queer.
Yeah, girlfriend. Oh my God, So I definitely think that people in small towns have it so hard, because if you don't have that, like if you don't self-actualize in the sense of knowing who you are and knowing that there are things, you don't have Twitter in a small town.
How do you navigate these spaces when you go back home to Kimberley or go back home to Isla? How do you then navigate those spaces without maybe leaving a piece of you in Johannesburg?
Yeah. I think it's really difficult to not be yourself, as much as it is difficult to be yourself. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but it's just important to pick your battles, because you're not gonna get to Islalino or home and be gay openly as much as you are in Johannesburg, because you'd be opening yourself up to a whole lot of violence. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's a violent protection for yourself to sort of keep it hidden to make other people comfortable, but it's a protection nonetheless.
Of yourself.
And I think you should really, like, as a band, because that's fine, just pick your battle. Do you think that, like, so when you address it, like when you try to correct abantu abadala in the way that you
it others me,
do you think that sort of others you to say that you know, no, we lesbian, no, hey, you can't say that, don't.
I think now in my adult years, I've always told myself that I'll correct abazali bethu when they say problematic things. But when I was younger and I was less self-aware than I am today, I remember an incident where a friend of mine who was masculine presenting, they were making comments about her. Okay, as low we lesbian doing that, and because I saw how they spoke of her and what they thought of her, I became very scared myself. I was like, shit, if this is what they say about queer people, imagine when they find out that one of their own is actually also queer, and how they will now begin to unlove me, because zonga zinto is very violent and unloving. And I mean, to say that about another black woman and Zonga's comments, they literally closeted me even more, and I didn't have that confidence to say I just stood and I just laughed along with them, and that was problematic of me back in the day. But I think now that I'm older, I'm able to say, you know what, let's not do that.
Which brings us back to like Landova, you know, you hide yourself to sort of protect yourself when you get back home, because your friend who you spoke about is masculine presenting, so it's on the outside and they can see it, and which automatically opens her up to violence. But if you are somehow not as explicitly queer as she was or she is, then it's easy for you to
navigate in those spaces.
Yeah,
and I can imagine for masculine queer people
that it's worse.
That it's worse for them when they go back home and they need to perform, you know,
because there are people that I speak to even on campus, like today, like at Vets or at here in Bram, Joburg, they'd be like, yeah, when I go home I have to like do my
dress
hair
differently,
I have to, so that they don't know that I'm queer, you know, and it's really
stressful and sad.
It's like
but I think maybe I've had the privilege of like, and I don't really fall into any and you're really, I'll wear it. Just that obviously like a nose ring and cutting my hair, that's like the only thing. But I mind it's not as bad as other masculine presenting women who have to go back home and now have to perform.
But I think it's also important to remember that, like, just because someone, to your opinion, could have it, you know, 1 million times worse, it doesn't invalidate our own experience and our own pain and our own struggles. Just because saying we'll be loquist, we'll be pumps, you know, it doesn't mean that it's any less violent for us. So yeah, it's alright, Bandas.
I see peasant episode, the conversation will never ever end. If you have any story to share, comment down below. It's somewhere here. Okay, do it, just If you want to tell us about your experience about being queer in a small town, comment down below. If you like this channel, like, subscribe, do your thing, man. Do your thing. Thanks for watching this episode. We'll be back next.
I am Push, this is Siwo. What?
No, I am Siwo. This is Push. Thank you for watching.